G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to Battlefleet Gothic Armada with Mags. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Eldar fleet, the newest fleet to be added and the final of the 4 primary races that will be in the Battlefleet Gothic game. Now, in my previous video on Chaos, there were a lot of people that commented in the comment section that they didn't particularly like the style of play because Chaos fleets are generally designed for high-speed, long-range engagements, and in particular, I use a carrier fleet layout. You're really not going to like the Eldar fleet if that's the case. They're all about speed, mobility, agility, keeping distance and being able to close in for rapid lightning strikes and then evading their enemies. And this is because their ships are incredibly fragile. Now, I'm playing around with my deployment here at the moment. I have a lot of favors on my vessels. I'm mainly using Altioc favor, which allows many of my ships that have this favor to actually be completely invisible outside of direct line of sight, so they will not get a sensor dot or anything else on the map, so long as they are stationary and not moving, or only moving under the silent running command. But I have 2 vessels that aren't. One of my escorts obviously does not have this ability, and my battle cruiser is brand new. It's actually, in fact, so new that it doesn't even have any abilities at this time. I didn't have the renown to put them on. So what I've done is I've put my battlecruiser and my escort to the right-hand side near this gas cloud. The rest of my ships that are marked are sitting in the midfield, but the enemy can't see them, and I'm laying out an ambush. Now I'm going for an early probe scout here. I don't expect it's going to land, but I might as well give it a shot. It's highly unlikely, even though I'm not going to move my ships here at all, that the enemy is going to assume that the ships are going to be stationary. Now the reason I'm going for the early probe scout is why the enemy fleet is just red sensor dots, as you see there. I cannot directly attack them with long-range bomber squadrons, which the Eldar have the best fighters and the best bomber squadrons in the game. What they lack is boarding parties as an option, so you don't get transports that you can use. But I can't attack them with my bombers or any of my long-range weaponry unless I can actually see what the ships are. If the sensor goes through and reveals what they are as they pull into long range, I can engage them from outside of their visual range. And it looks like the Imperial player is completely unaware of this because he lets the sensor probe go straight through the core of his fleet and reveals everything. Now, I'm not entirely sure why the Imperial player would actually do this. He is clearly an inexperienced player. If you look over his ships, all his ships have between 4 and 5 upgrades on each ship, and they all seem to be carrying the Mark of the Mechanicum, which is really seems to be the flavour of high-tier or high-level Imperial fleets. So this guy has played a lot of battles. In fact, his fleet is more advanced and more upgraded than my own. My best ships only have 2 upgrades on them at this time. Now, I was just deploying some fighter squadrons out of my 2 light cruisers. I'm doing that because it looks like his ships carry a lot of torpedo boats, and I want to make sure that I have them up because the fighters can shoot down torpedoes, so they provide a little bit of extra defense. Also, it gets the cooldown cycling now, so the fighters are up, and by the time they're in range, we should be good to engage with bombers. Now he's beginning to start torpedo strikes against the cloud. He did see the escort and the cruiser go in, so I'm going to activate silent running and begin to move these ships out. I won't be able to get them to move too far under silent running, but the Imperials shouldn't see me clearing the gas cloud, and I should be able to begin putting them in a position so when silent running ends, they will see and will divert, and will drive straight into the guns and torpedo, or the bombers, of my cruiser fleet. So, why I moved my ships over to prepare for this engagement, we should probably quickly go through a few more details about the Eldar fleet. First thing is how they defend themselves. Eldar ships, as you can see, do not have a purple or blue shield bar above them. Their shield is yellow, and you'll notice when the ships are not moving, they don't have one. This is because Eldar ships are not equipped with a void shield. They're equipped with what is known as a Holo Shield. This creates holographic images of the ship. It increases their ability to basically dodge attacks. They have an 80% chance to dodge any incoming fire, while the shield is at full power. However, that shield is only powered when the ship is moving. The second the ship stops moving, that bar begins to drain and will just vanish, taking out the ship's defences. So an Eldar fleet has to remain mobile at all times. Now you can see I'm just targeting the Imperial fleet at the moment, and I am ordering attacks on all of their shield generators. I want their void shields completely removed. This is simply to increase their vulnerability to bomber strikes, as this is how I'm going to be leading the beginning of this attack and this ambush. Now, another thing about the Eldar fleets is, I said before, their ships are incredibly fragile. They actually have a debuff on them as standard that is called Fragile. Their ships are basically unarmoured. In a one-on-one fight, an Imperial light cruiser can destroy an Eldar battleship if it doesn't have Holo Shields up and remain stationary. Now, the Imperial player there was paying attention. He saw the bomber swarms coming out, realised that there were ships sitting just offside that he couldn't see, so I've just activated silent running on all my ships and I'm now boosting them out of the area. Now, Eldar boost works differently to other nations as well. Just quickly turning these around to drop some torpedoes in their path and then turning them away. I have 2 of my ships are designed for direct fire, the other 3 are set up for long-range engagements using bombers. But as I was saying, Eldar boost is different. First you'll notice again they have, much like the Orcs, they have no high energy turns. This is because Eldar ships... Oh, that was a good strike, that one. Eldar ships basically turn as well as most vessels do under a high energy turn as standard, so they don't need one. Their boost operates differently as well. They don't have a boost bar. They have a cooldown ability. You activate the boost, they can boost away, and then 20 seconds later, they have the ability to boost again. And they can continually do this over and over again. This means their movement is shorter under boost, so it is possible to catch them if the Eldar player is not completely on the money. However, they can boost more often, and over the long run, they will move a larger distance and be able to pull out of range. Now you'll notice that lightning strike went straight through on a ship that was guarded by a Holo Shield. This is the second disadvantage of the Holo Shields, where a lightning strike, or basically a teleported boarding attack designed to perform critical strikes against internal components on a vessel, cannot be performed on any ship that has a void shield up, because Eldar ships are not equipped with void shields. They are completely vulnerable to this at all times. If you get close enough to lightning strike an Eldar ship, regardless of what its Holo Shield status is, you can do it. Until the end. Now at the moment I'm just activating another special ability that comes from the Mark Veltiok that a number of my ships, 4 of them in fact, are equipped with. This is... it's easiest described as a lightning strike that can penetrate void shields, but it has an incredibly long cooldown of 3 minutes. Now I'm using this strike deliberately to target key ships in the enemy fleet that are at close range. This is to take down, hopefully destroy their generators, because they cannot repair them once they are taken down, and now I'm activating silent running on all my ships again. From the enemy's perspective at this range, my entire fleet just disappeared. At this point I can begin to move them out and set up a second ambush to restart the engagement again. And I've done pretty well so far. I've done a significant amount of damage to the enemy fleet, and all of my ships are alive with only minor damage. Well, moderate on the Escort. Now the Escort I'm actually going to take back through the gas cloud here, because its silent running is not going to last very long, and it will appear, because it does not have a mark on it, it is going to become visible again, and it will become visible first. So I want it to go out the side, so it looks like I've split my fleet into 2. I'm hoping it'll split the enemy fleet, causing him to move in 2 groups, head towards the Escort, and allow me to engage some of his ships, isolated and on their own. In Eldar fleet engagements, this seems to be the key, especially in large engagements, to split the enemy forces up, or at least get individual ships to isolate themselves for attack. Because Eldar ships are so vulnerable to close range assault, and they cannot afford to stop moving, if you can get one ship on its own and just gank it, remove it from the battle, decreasing the enemy's strength, and then break away and continually break the enemy fleet over time, your chances of surviving the battle and actually winning are extremely high. Trying to directly attack a blob will almost always result in a straight defeat. Now what I was thinking here was to move my 2 light cruisers, which are carriers, into a position where they could bomber strike the enemy fleet as it was passing through towards the Escort, but it appears the Imperial player knows what's going on. He may have seen this tactic before, and he's just blobbed his fleet and stopped moving, which is really all he can do at this time. He has one ship that is very damaged that he can't afford to lose. He's taken critical strikes across his vessels, and with my ships continually appearing and disappearing based on whether or not they're moving, he's not entirely sure what ships are where now, so he needs to stop until it's worked out.
Swiftly!
Now, I'm just letting my escort go through at the moment. It's going to get taken out by that bomb strike. I don't really care at this point. The escort's sole job was to be an emergency scout should my probes miss. Since my probes have not missed, I don't need to worry about him anymore. So I'm going to blob my fleet a little. I want to keep a little bit of distance past them, which is why I'm using individual movement controls rather than moving them en masse. And I'm trying to get just close enough that I can deploy bombers on that second Imperial ship. I want to start reducing the number of guns they have available. Now just let the fleet stop here at the moment, let this plasma bomb go off, move forward, deploy bombers again, and hopefully my battle cruiser will be close enough. Ah, he's going to be kind and move the fleet up. Excellent. Little bit further, and there we go. Third strike of bombers is out. Turn the fleet away. He's going for a torpedo volley at this point. We just turn the fleet around the opposite direction, and we're going to boost away. I just want to make sure, yep, he's all targeted up nicely. And we boost back for range. This will pull us out of range of all the torpedoes, and we're fine. Now, a couple of those torpedoes do look like they're closing on my ships. However, my fighters are coming back in, and there we go. The fighters now engaging the torpedoes and eliminating them. And that's why I launched the fighters very early on in the fight. This is what they do. Not a single torpedo lands. Now, it doesn't look like we managed to take out his ship. Unfortunately, the bombers came out one at a time because I didn't have the ships quite in the right area. Just get a torpedo volley off there. Start boosting my other torpedo ship around.
At your service.
And we can start activating our special boarding action from our favour, which is actually called Pathfinder Webway Assault. I haven't mentioned that before, and I actually got the timers wrong with it. It's not 3 minutes, it's 300 seconds, so it's 5 minutes on the cooldown. I've actually been pronouncing the name of the favour wrong too. It's Alitok. Bloody Eldar names. So anyways, with our boarding actions done, we've hopefully destroyed some generators. I'll just go down and have a look here. Looks like we get a couple of ships without void shields, which is nice to see. Yes, their battle cruisers lost it. So another torpedo assault there, and it looks like he's beginning to move the fleet up again. So we're going to close range and get ready for another bomber strike. So be careful, he's just deployed another plasma bomb there. This battle's going for significantly longer than I actually expected it to be honest. Just out of range of the bombers. A little bit closer, and there we go. Bombers one away.
Yes, Commander.
All bombers on the battle cruiser.
Yes, Commander.
And boost our ship straight forward.
Yes, Commander, we obey.
Start pulling for distance once again. This gets our Holo Shields back up from any long-range attacks. And we got a turret. Looks like we did some decent damage to the ship. And bombers are still going through. And we've got it down about a quarter health, which is a good start. Imperial vessels are extremely durable, so we just need to pour enough damage onto them at the moment. Boost through the clouds, and actually no, we'll reload. I was thinking about going into silent running, but if I reload the ordnance on those three vessels, it actually shrinks the cooldown timer on the bombers, so I'll get a second deployment on the bombers more rapidly. Although it looks like he's stopped his fleet again.
Swiftly. The Eldar stand ready.
Still got some webway assaults, and we'll put some more on. I want to destroy guns and anything else I can get my hands on that battle cruiser. That battle cruiser is going to be a nightmare. If it gets into close range with my ships, it alone could rip my fleet to pieces.
Until the end.
Another bomber strikes. More bomber strikes.
Until the end.
Oh, and lightning strike success, and our engine's destroyed. That's a problem. Thankfully, it's only on one of my... Oh, damn it, plasma bomb.
The Eldar stand ready. Setting sail.
Damn it. Right, we'll ram. Alright, so I just lost that ship. That's how vulnerable they are. You make one mistake, and you lose a ship. Eldar is extremely vulnerable to that sort of a thing. So as soon as it lost its engines, it lost the ability to keep distance, And at that point, even with the Holo Shields up, there was enough combined firepower there that there was no chance that it was going to survive. So I'm going to get rid of this escort now. The escort's starting to get annoying with its torpedoes, and it's a fairly easy ship to eliminate, so a couple of bomber swarms should get rid of that one. Thankfully, before it went down, I got a ram in on the enemy's battle cruiser, so it's now down to just 1/3 health. Should make it fairly easy to deal with, and that is the escort dealt with. Now I've got this isolated light cruiser, so we're going to start attacking that. This time I'm going to bring the battle cruiser to bear. Enough damage has been done and the ship's been isolated, so I can quickly pour some damage on, and then boost away. Set a fire on it, and have I got any bombers? Actually, no, we'll just bring this one around, get another beam strike, and that's a light cruiser down as well. Once again, turn back. They've dropped another plasma bomb. I've got to boost through this plasma bomb very quickly, otherwise I'm going to lose this ship. And here we go, boost the ship out to range, and they're getting way too close now. They're close enough to get lightning strikes on me, so I've got to open the distance once again. Bomber strikes on the closest ship. Its void shields down, so it should be able to do some damage. The bombers are not ready on my battle cruiser yet. Quickly turn my direct fire cruiser back in. Another beam strike. And I'm completely off aim there, but I'm close enough I can get a boarding action.
Moving to that location.
And quickly drop off my webway assault, boost out of the plasma, keep my carriers at range. My carriers are going to win this battle, so torpedo strike.
Setting sail.
And if I'm lucky, that's going to land, and there we go. There goes their battle cruiser. So open up the gap again, and this time they're down to just 2 cruisers left. Quickly turn my carriers back around. These guys are going to try and warp out. I know they are. He'd be crazy at this point not to. He's just lost half his fleet in just a couple of minutes. So bomber waves are out. Try and open some distance here. This light cruiser is pretty much undamaged, and it's got my other cruiser. Yep, there we go. There's the warp out. Boost in and activate a lightning strike, cancels the warp, and this time we will just focus fire with direct fire weaponry. Activate the beam on him, and there goes his cruiser. He's trying to warp the second one out, and unfortunately I've moved my cruiser too far away and he gets the warp out, but that is a victory for me. One light cruiser managed to escape out of his entire fleet. So, 263 renown earned for that battle. I did lose one ship, unfortunately, and I got another 324 renown towards my level, which is only level 5 at this point with the Eldar fleet. So, that is the Eldar fleet, the 4th and final fleet of the base game for Battlefleet Gothic Armada. There will be a 5th fleet coming about 2 months after the game comes out as DLC. This is the Space Marine, or the Adeptus Astartes fleet. This fleet is going to be given freely to anybody who's bought into the game early, or anybody who buys the game in the first 2 months after it's officially released. Now, I will cover that one when it comes out. So I guess the only final thing to cover is how you deal with an Eldar fleet if you are not playing one and you are facing one. Well, as you saw, I was completely reliant on mobility. I need to be moving in order to have the Holo Shields up. I need to constantly keep out of range, specifically lightning strike range, in order to prevent people from taking those Holo Shields out, because my vessels cannot sustain huge amounts of fire. They will just disintegrate. To beat an Eldar fleet, you need to remove its mobility. You need to box it against the side of the map, into the corner of the map if you can, against an asteroid field, anything that will reduce its range. A big thing to mention, if you're facing an Eldar fleet, put lightning strike on auto cast, so the second any of your ships get within range, it automatically hits the enemy ships with a lightning strike, and make sure as soon as you have them visual, you target their Holo Shield generators. Without those, their ships just disintegrate. And the last thing, of course, is don't let individual ships get isolated. Eldar players thrive on that and will pull your fleet apart a ship at a time. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the void.